Hello everybody, this is Casey with SimplePotential.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Ludum Dare 38 entry for the theme Small World. And what I came up with was actually a card game originally that was going to take place in like a small town, and people would have like dotted lines to each other, kind of thing, like, okay, so I'm going to play Fred, and then I play a card that's got Sue on it, and they might have a familiar relationship between Bob that was played earlier and something along those lines. And anyways, hey, it's a small world, isn't it? Because I know this guy. That was kind of the idea I was going to go with. I couldn't make it work in the time frame that I had. I spent probably a total of 20 hours working on that, and just the kind of the mechanics around that whole situation of it's a small world, isn't it? I just couldn't make it fun at all, and it was kind of complicated, and I kind of like the idea of some of what I did mechanically in the game. I'm going to keep the project around, and I'm probably going to play with it a little bit and see what I can come up with. But in the end, personal life kind of got in the way of things, and then the mechanics of that idea was just really outside of the scope of what I could do in the time frame I had allotted myself. So I ended up on Sunday morning waking up and not feeling the greatest, not feeling great about the game itself, and thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then just on top of it, I had also woken up with some sort of extremely terrible cold, so I just wasn't really feeling like programming or anything, but I really wanted to get an entry in, and I knew that idea was not going to play out. So there are a couple of blog posts out there talking about that tiny town kind of aspect that I was going for, and I scrapped it totally. I had about 6 hours left in the day by the time I actually felt like I was awake enough and feeling up to coding. So I sat down and started working on a different idea, and this is what I came up with as a game called Insect Attack, kind of taking the small world aspect and went down to the insect level, think Bug's Life kind of situation. It's a small world of insects. So that's kind of where the theme came into play on this, and this is nothing original at all. Very classic kind of Atari kind of style of game. There's a player that's fixed in the middle of the screen that can rotate around and shoot at ants that are coming at you. Now, why didn't I call this Ant Attack? That's because I was originally intending on having additional types of bugs in the game, and I totally did not have time to do that. So what I came up with is this insect attack, and there's a bunch of ants on the screen, and we're going to do just a really quick little playthrough here. This is the title screen, and you can see it's insect attack. Killing bugs increase your time. Missing with a bullet reduces your time. Getting hit by a bug reduces your time. Points for bug kills, and red bugs are worth more points and time. Now, I will point out just really quick, the red bugs that you see on the screen are moving slow, and while that actually kind of works for the gameplay because they take more bullets to hit, and kind of like boss bugs, they're not supposed to be moving slow, and I haven't exactly figured out why that's the case. So if you're looking through my source code and you're like, hey, you idiot, here's why the red bug is moving slow, I'm okay with you saying, hey, idiot, here's where the problem is. Just let me know, because I would love to figure out what that is that's causing that. And I haven't had a lot of time to actually spend trying to figure it out at the moment. But that's definitely something that's a bug, not a feature, but it actually works as a feature. And if I could figure it out, I would actually be implementing, the slow time. I know how to slow them down purposely. It's just not coded to currently do it. So I'm not sure why they're slow. Anyways, there is another bug that is in here, and it's a relatively game-breaking bug. I don't have time to fix it right now. It will get fixed eventually. But ants can literally spawn anywhere on the screen. That includes right on top of your player. Now, if they spawn right on top of your player, they have a time set on them where both you and the ant are essentially invincible, and if the ant spawns and collides with you immediately, the bug just goes away and you don't lose any points for it, no time's lost for it or anything like that. It's just simply a non-event. and that's more of a workaround than anything else. I should put spawners on the outside of the screens out here and let them spawn anywhere within, you know, the width of these spawners or something of that nature. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it, but that will get changed. But right now they'll spawn anywhere, but they can still spawn pretty close to you, so even if they're not right on top of you, they might as well be, because you just can't physically get to them quick enough before they hit you. Known issue, and like I said, it'll get fixed. So the way this works, this is a spray can, my really crappy artwork here. I'm actually a decent artist. I mentioned that in previous Ludum Dares, but when it comes to pixel art and like actually doing art on a computer, not so great. I actually wouldn't mind doing a game where I draw everything on paper and then scan it in or trace over it. I do have a Wacom tablet and I could trace them in or something like that. But anyways, the graphics are what they are. This game does technically qualify as a compo entry in all aspects except for time. It ended up being a jam entry, and while I said Sunday is when I actually started working on this for 6 hours, that's not exactly the right thing. I got about 6 hours of work in on it. About 3 of those were done on Sunday, and the rest of it was done on Monday after work. So that is that. And as you can see in the upper left corner, you can see my time's clicking away there, and it's gone. So basically, that's the game. Turn around, shoot. Use the right mouse button to shoot the poofs out at things, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I know it's not a very complicated game. It's not probably a very fun game. You can, kind of get high scores on there if you are able to manage to like really go a long time. Theoretically, the game could go on forever. Every time you hit a bug, you get points for it. I wouldn't sit there and just shoot bullets everywhere. When the bullet goes invisible off of the screen or has been alive for more than 5 seconds, the bullet will die if it hasn't hit anything, and it will take away time off your score. So, or not your score, but take away time off your time meter, and the time meter shows up in the upper left corner. And you start with 60 seconds. If an ant hits you, you get time taken off. If a red ant hits you, you get more time taken off. And if the bullet, like I said, goes off screen or is alive for more than 5 seconds, you will lose a second of time in that case. So that's how that works. If you clicked on the screen, you could actually start over and play again, or you could hit escape and it would end the game. That's how that works. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the other scene. So the main scene here. There's just 3 scenes in here: game over, a start, and the main game. Your scores here. You did see on the game over screen, actually, let me go back to that really quick. Game over. So in the version that is actually up on the Ludum Dare website and on itch.io, which you can play this in HTML5 if you want. I recommend downloading it, though. I'm playing it that way. It's a little easier. But in that version of the game, the high score doesn't say high score. They both say your score. But the bottom one is an actual high score on it. It's just the label didn't get updated before I compiled it and sent it out. Stupid mistake, but it's that way. I have fixed it since then, and I can technically upload the changes, but I've got other changes I've been working on here that don't qualify. So that's why I haven't fixed it yet. Some things that I'm planning on doing that did not get implemented, and I really wish they would have, because they really would have made the game far better than what it is. I mean, it still wouldn't have been great, but it would have been far better than what it was. But my idea was that you would have some additional weapon types, and one of those would be a bug bomb. And so you would drop something down on here on the screen. So let's just say, for instance, let's say it's another spray can here. Let's say you would pop it down here, and this spray can would become a bug bomb and just put out a poof of smoke for a small period of time or something, and then anything that spawns in this radius would just die. That's one idea I've had. The other idea I've had is like, okay, well maybe it like falls to the screen or something, starts maybe the size of it starts large and then slowly comes down to a small point and then explodes and wipes the entire screen, something of that nature. But basically the way a bug bomb works, it just sits out and lets out a big old poof of smoke and starts killing stuff. So that's one thought that I have for another weapon type. Another weapon type that I've had an idea for is a bait trap, and it's not so much a weapon so much as it's an attractor. So you could throw a bait trap down, and then all the ants would start flocking to that bait trap, and it would give you the ability to start killing them on their way there, and they would, instead of coming towards the player, they would go towards the trap. And I think that'd add an interesting mechanic to the game. And then I've toyed with the idea of, well, you could either I'm trying to find my words here. You could take the trap, and a way a real trap would work is the ants come in, they feed, and then they take it back to the colony, and they kill off the colony that way. So I thought something even along that line. So maybe the ants come out and maybe they're flashing or something, like star power kind of thing or something. I don't know. But as they just kind of wander around the screen, can no longer interact with the player, but maybe they kill other ants as they run into them, something of that nature. So those are kind of the ideas I've had. I thought about an auto fire type thing, or maybe you can let out continuous sprays of the little poofs that come out. I'm calling them bullets, but they're spray puffs. That's what they are. So whenever currently a spray puff goes off the screen, you're going to lose a second, but maybe an auto fire kind of situation, maybe they wouldn't lose any time. You could just fire as much as you want and kill as many ants as possible in that way. So there's that. I do believe I already mentioned the way it spawns. They can spawn right on top of you, or so close to you that it might as well not matter. That's going to be fixed with spawners either on the outside, where they can spawn within a range of the height and width there. Right now, they can spawn anywhere within the pixel width of the camera view, which is here in the game manager script right here. Get random screen point. All it does is finds a point for X and for Y in a range of 0 to the pixel width and pixel height, and then pops that on there. So that's how it spawns an enemy, and it can spawn them literally, like I said, anywhere within the camera view. It works okay, but you're definitely going to have problems because of that. Certainly makes it a challenge. Another thought I had for the spawners is like, well, maybe like, okay, in the corner here, in the corner here, corner here, corner here, and then maybe like one here, here, here. They'd be spawners, and they'd have a radius, and they can spawn anywhere within that radius. I haven't decided. Probably the edge ones are probably the best way to go. The ants will always come in towards the player, so no matter where they spawn, they're always going to start racing towards the player. Why are they racing towards the player? I don't know, but that's the way it made sense to build it. So, I thought about like, okay, maybe there should be like, I don't know, like sugar cubes or food crumbs or something like that that spawn randomly, and maybe that's where ants flock to. And then, I don't know, something of that nature, and maybe that's why they're trying to get to you. They'd spawn within your area or something. You're just trying to keep them away. But use your imagination on why they're coming at you. Maybe it's just a really bad B movie. It is called Insect Attack, and the reason for that is there was going to be more types of insects. I had an idea for a millipede that would go around the screen, kind of all snaky-like, and do something along those lines, make it really difficult to kill. A bee is another one I had thought about doing, but that kind of thing, and just never got around to building anything else. The best thing I ended up coming up with was a red ant, and like I said, it currently has a bug. It moves slower than everything else, and I'm not sure why. It shouldn't be. I mean, I like it doing that, but it should actually be going the same speed as the black ant. Their prefabs are identical. In fact, fire ant is a copy of black ant. The only thing that changed was the number of hit points it has, the score value, and the amount of time that it gives you for killing it. And there is, in the manager, everything is controlled. So the movement speed of the ants is controlled from this float here, which is enemy speed. Doesn't matter what kind of ant gets spawned. That's where it goes. Now, technically, this is bad design. Whenever I go to fix some of this, the enemy speed should actually be part of the enemy script itself, so that each bug that spawned could have its own speed, and maybe even a random speed as they're spawned. But that's how that should technically be working, and it's not. And sorry, my voice is starting to crack here a little bit. I'm still not feeling great, but that's how that works. You can click anywhere on the screen with your right mouse button, and that's what fires the puff. And it will fire in the direction of your mouse, not necessarily to a particular point that you clicked or anything. It's just wherever the mouse cursor was at whenever you click the right mouse button, that's where the bullet will forever fly towards. There is a bug in the version that's up on the site with the puffs. Sometimes they will get stuck, so I honestly don't know why they're doing it 100%. They get to a point, and then they'll just sit there and they'll stay until their timer runs out. So each puff has a max time alive, which is 5 seconds at the moment. So if it's alive for more than 5 seconds, it disappears on its own. All well and good, but I'm not sure why it's getting stuck in the first place. The best thing I've come up with, but I haven't been able to prove it out, is that bullets were colliding with each other, and that was freaking it out in some fashion. Why that would be happening, I don't know. They should be far enough behind each other that they should never actually catch up with one another, but I suppose it's possible that's what's happening. But I haven't seen it happen since I turned off the ability for ammo to collide with ammo. So that might have been the fix, or it might simply be because it's not happening right now, and it's just some random thing that's occurring. So if you look at the code and you're seeing that, and you're like, hey, here's why, do let me know. I'd be happy to take that advice. I'm sure it's something really stupid that I've done. I just haven't had time to find the actual issue, but it might actually be fixed in this version that I have right now. Let's see, what else is there. Same goes with the red ants. If you know why they're moving slow, do let me know. It's okay to say, hey, idiot, here's the problem. I'm perfectly fine with that. And again, I'm sure it's exactly that. I'm an idiot, and that's why it occurred. Let's see, was there anything else I could talk about here? I mean, there's really not much to the game. It's storing high scores and everything using the player prefs object. So it's just pushing in your high score and or your score, and it's actually going to be in the game manager where it's doing all that. So in the game over, it's setting your score into an integer value in player's prefs, and this is the name of the property. Is just your score. If you're not sure how that works, this should all be done to a file probably instead of player prefs, but that's okay. Player prefs works. High score. It checks to see if your high score, the high score that is currently stored, is less than the total score that we just created. If it is, then it sets high score equal to the new total score, and then it loads the game screen, and the game over screen just populates the high score and the your score text. And like I said, there is currently an error on that screen where the high score is actually labeled as your score as well, and that's, like I said, just a labeling issue. It actually is displaying the high score. Yeah, so that's pretty much all there is to this. A lot of other things I would have done to the game if I'd, thought of this idea to start with. I could have really taken this, I think, to some different places. Possibly a moving player even, maybe you walk around with your spray can, maybe a stick man or something runs around shooting the ants or something, I don't know. But time was a definite factor this time around, and I missed the last Ludum Dare because the one-room theme just was not clicking in my head with anything that I could do at all, and so I just ended up getting frustrated and didn't enter at all, and I did not want that to happen this time. So that's kind of how I ended up at where I am, and I'm going to leave this video right here. If you got any questions at all about how the game works, if you find a bug, let me know. Anything like that, drop me a comment. there's contact information on the website. All that information can be found in the video description below. There will be links to where you can play the game, where you can download the game, where you can view the source code, and also to the Ludum Dare game competition entry. So if you happen to be a player, somebody who actually competed in the competition and you want to vote on it, I do believe voting is going to be opening up probably just before this video goes live, and that was because they had some technical problems with the website. It should have went live last week, but if you actually did compete and you want to vote on the game, please do. And beyond that, I do believe that is it. If you like what you're seeing, drop me a comment and let me know, and we will see you next time.